Hello, everyone, and welcome to Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet to actually be able to pre-order a PS5. I'm Will, and joining me this week, Brandon.
Pre-order that PS5, baby.
Ills.
I got mine, I think.
And Mizamel.
I actually pre-ordered with the intention of canceling it before it comes out.
You're just that kind of person, huh?
I mean, well, what? It's not like I'm harming anyone. I'm not gonna.
You are definitely harming
it.
someone.
No, someone will. Okay, it'll be net even because someone didn't get it, but someone else will be able to by the time I cancel it.
Right, but that first person.
Yeah, well, fuck them. They're probably
heartbroken.
That first person's probably a scalper. I'm willing to bet. Okay, it was a bot or a scalper, and
what if
I
it was
saved.
Me?
Yeah, you're a bot and a scalper. You're both of those things.
You dude.
Either that, or maybe it was a Sony pony, and we love to watch Sony ponies.
That's true. So. I mean, I am keeping it with the intention of if any of my friends want to take the pre-order, they can, because I will prioritize my friends over strangers.
Ooh,
My friends over you, a classic tune.
Where are you pre-ordering it at?
Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
We said this publicly. None of you listening are Moose's friends. Don't contact them.
Yeah, this is not an offer open to any listener.
Slide into his DMs,
Here's the
he
thing.
wants to hear from you.
I kind of want to trade in my PS4, but I'm also afraid of that 1%, you know?
That one?
What if there's one game I want to play and I can only play it on my PS4?
So let's just get to it, right? We're already talking about it. We had a PlayStation event this week. The inevitable thing that had to happen, happened. We have a date, which is November 12th, for a Tier 1 country, which is US, Japan, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea. Get bent, Saf, because you're having to get it a week later on November 19th.
Yeah,
right?
Saf, get bent.
Tier 2.
And then we got prices, which is an obvious point of conversation. So regular, not regular. What's the term? I guess it's just regular. The regular is 500. PS5 is 500. The PS5 all digital edition is $400 US. This will vary depending on what country you live in, right? But that's generally for the American listeners what you're going to be paying. So first and foremost, there's other little details to get to among all these pricing, but how do you feel about just those two numbers?
I mean, $399 is a great price. I think that having the PS5 being the monster that it is, but then it's available at the same price the PS4 was at launch is very cool. Obviously, you don't get the disc drive with that. If you want a disc drive, you got to pony up an extra $100, and I do have mixed feelings about that. But I think it's a good price overall, at least for the digital. Physical, it being the same price as the Series X makes sense, right? I did. That's kind of what I expected, and so yeah. It not too crazy about it. It's whatever. $4.99. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't like blown away. This all felt kind of expected to be expected.
Mm-hmm. Now here is as we've alluded to, the pre-orders. If you want to get this thing, you've heard this price and said, "I want to pick this baby up." Bad news, you can't. The pre-orders are already up and gone. Especially fast for the all digital edition. That was instantaneous, basically. And part of the reason we know that now is because from reports that we're getting of where retailers are getting the types of consoles retailers are getting, it's roughly like a 7-to-1 ratio of disc consoles to discless consoles, right? Which maybe makes sense because I imagine they're taking a bigger loss on the all digital edition. Because we know how much a disc drive costs to put in a console, and it's not $100. It's closer to like $50, right? Yeah. So I think that they were really aggressive about, we want to get one of these things. We want to say starting at $400, right? Even though most people will be paying $500, it's important in ads to say starting at $400, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is a smart strategy, ultimately, right?
Kind of sneaky.
A little sneaky. They're a little sneaky about a lot of stuff, actually, from this conference. Part of that, too, we're not done with prices yet because Sony confirmed all their first-party games will be... the launch will range from $50 to $70, but in general, games will be $70 moving forward. The only $50 game at launch is Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is hitting at launch, which is, we expected, but is there. The $70 version comes with a remastered version of Spider-Man PS4, which is kind of there just as a value add, which we'll get to later, because it could have been part of the new collection they're announcing, but whatever. In addition, Demon Souls is launching day one, as is Sackboy's Big Adventure and Destruction All-Stars. I think I'm forgetting one.
No,
That's
the
it?
one that comes on the console.
Astro's Playroom.
Astro's
That's not a
Playroom.
game.
That is a way of life.
It's a mentality. Yeah, so we now have the launch lineup for the PS5. I didn't expect Demon Souls at launch, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I thought there would be 2 launch games. We ended up with 5. 6 if you count Spider-Man Remastered, which they also threw in there. Not a free upgrade though, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. Like, that's a lot of games. Mind you, like, I do feel this is somewhat of a mistake on Sony's part. You can say, "Oh, a lot of launch games. That's great, right?" But I think there's such a thing as too many, especially at the price point that they are.
Yeah,
and and we can talk about this in a sec, but I really feel like Sackboy and Destruction All-Stars in particular are just being sent out to die.
Are those going to be $70 games?
I mean,
yes, they are.
Destruction All-Stars is going to be 70. Sackboy is the one. Sackboy and Miles Morales are the exceptions. Miles is 50, 70 for the deluxe that comes with Spider-Man Remastered. And I think that's the only way you can actually get Spider-Man Remastered, as far as I know. And then Sackboy is $60. But Destruction All-Stars, Demon Souls, and Spider-Man Ultimate Edition are all $70.
Yeah, I'm not. No way I'm paying $70 for Destruction, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, that one in particular, like, who do you think we are,
Yeah, it's very untested. Like, nobody knows exactly what that's going to be like.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not happy with this pricing scheme at all with the games, and that honestly is what's pushing me to not want the console. Because I said before this event, I was like, if it's $399, I cannot resist. There's just no way I can resist, you know? But suddenly, when I have to factor in, $70 for Spider-Man, $70 for Demon Souls, like $70
that adds
for
up real fast.
Another third for 2K or something, like it's like especially when I know these games are going to drop in price like fairly quickly, like just from the history of a lot of these publishers. It's just, I know these games are going to drop in price. I don't want to be there day one. That's just too much for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that ultimately it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts to $70 games, right? Because as we've noted before, the games have been inflated in price in 15 years, right? So, but every time you do a $10 jump, that is noticeable, right? It adds up pretty quickly.
Yeah. But I think we should note, though, regional pricing here. Because the US is actually getting the best deal out of this somehow, because when I initially saw the $7 price tag, I thought, US is just catching up to everyone else because there have been price increases everywhere else, right? Yeah. But no, the rest of the world is getting screwed even more. And to use Europe as an example in particular, so games were mostly 60 euros this generation, right? Which is already more than what we were paying, right? Because the euro is more valuable than the dollar. And then 2K and Activision, as we know, those are the other two publishers that have raised their prices to $70 so far, right? And so they raised their price of Call of Duty and NBA 2K for next gen to 70 euros, right? Mm-hmm. Sony is like, nah, that's not good enough. We're going from 60 to 80 euros. $95 US for one video game.
God.
How do you even justify that? You better really make sure that you're gonna like this game for $95.
Yeah, especially when a lot of those games are going to be available on your PS4. That's the other thing that we found out about this. Is about an hour before pre-orders went live, Miles Morales is coming to PS4, Sackboy is coming to PS4, Destruction All-Stars is coming to PS4. Basically, the only actual PS5 exclusives on day one will be Demon Souls and Astro's Playroom, I guess, right?
Yeah, and even Horizon Zero Dawn 2?
Yeah, Horizon Forbidden West is going to be
Horizon Forbidden West
cross-gen.
being on PS4 is just mind-boggling because
that's very shocking.
That in the dev diary, they made sure to be like, we can only really do this with the power of the SSD. And Sony, for the last 6 months, has pushed this idea that we believe in generations, right? We are making games that could not be made on old hardware, right? And that's complete bullshit. And people are gonna say, oh, does this mean Horizon is held back or whatever? Maybe, but I'm willing to bet Horizon is still going to be one of, if not the most impressive game on the PS5 for a while.
Sure.
Which is to say, hey, maybe this idea that games are being held back is not true.
You had to hear about Xbox for the last fucking 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh, Halo is going to be held back by the Xbox One version, and it was just annoying to hear. It's is that really true? Probably not. Maybe there's a little bit to it,
Yeah.
but I don't
No,
know.
It's mostly frustrating at how much they sniped at the competition for doing the exact same thing, right?
Yeah,
How much
that's
they
the
were
thing.
Sony strongly believes they pushed the medium forward, right?
Yeah.
And how do you do that? With new hardware. And so we can't develop for this whole baby hardware. It turns out you can. Totally can. Fucking Horizon Forbidden West will have...
I guess it should be worth mentioning. On a clearly just consumer level, it's totally good.
No, it's a good thing.
Right?
I think it's a good thing for consumers. It's a good thing for Sony, right?
Yeah.
Because you get to take advantage. Because the PS4 is going to have somewhere around the number of 135 million users, right?
Yeah.
Many of them still active, by the way.
Yeah.
The monthly active user base of PSN is enormous, right? And obviously almost entirely comes from PS4. They don't have any other consoles around. And so there's going to be a lot of people who are not upgrading to next gen immediately, just by just thinking about it from a sheer numbers perspective, right? They possibly cannot. There's not going to be everyone jumping ship to PS5 from day one. There won't even be the stock for that. And so, I think it's especially good for a game like Miles Morales, which is clearly an expansion to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Hey, you played Spider-Man PS4, you can't upgrade to a PS5 yet, hey, you could still play Spider-Man, Miles Morales. So, that's cool.
Yeah, but I think ultimately the thing is that they were trying to have their cake and eat it too. Right?
Yeah, they're selling you on a concept that isn't real.
Yeah, I mentioned last week that part of the reason I thought about getting a PS5 was I was like, oh, I want to pick up Bugsnax, I want to pick up Kena, and I said, oh, it turns out those are both PS4. Turns out that's actually way more pervasive, right? They sort of have pitched the last 3 months of this console around the idea that Miles Morales and all these games are going to be there day one, and it turns out they're not. They're going to be, but they're not going to be using, I feel like it's kind of disingenuous that the first demo they used to illustrate the SSD loading is Spider-Man, right? Which makes sense. Right, and they say there's a bunch of stuff we can only do in Spider-Man with an SSD. And then 6 months later, they announce a new Spider-Man expansion for PS5. Your brain just assumes, okay, it's going to be using that stuff they showed in that demo. But it's not, because this is going to have to run on a PS4. And I think that, to me, is sort of the thing that's a little crappy about it. But ultimately, the launch lineup is stronger than we thought it was going to be. And I think that is definitely nice for people, right? Mm-hmm. Even if pricing wise, it's more difficult than ever to get a big launch lineup to take home, Yeah. But there were also games announced here, right? There was a lot of follow-ups to stuff we had seen 3 months ago, which makes sense, right?
Yes.
But there was also
half the presentation, or more than half, 70% of the presentation was
follow-ups.
Yeah, follow-ups.
Yeah, it definitely felt that way.
But the thing they opened with was Final Fantasy 16, the heavily rumored to be PS exclusive. It is. It 100% is. If you haven't seen the trailer or anything about the game, it's being developed by the FF14 Heaven's Ward team in particular, right, Muzamil?
Yep.
And the combat director is the director for DMC5. And seemingly the composer might be the FF14 composer. I think it's heavily speculated right now. But it's an interesting trailer because I was like semi excited for it from just the trailer, right? A new Final Fantasy I'm always going to be interested in, right?
Yeah.
But I think only when I found out the people behind it was I like, oh, this has the potential to like be really good, right?
We're gonna
Like,
break the curse.
They could break the curse, right? These are people that haven't made good games 10 years ago. They've made good games in the last 3 years, right? Which is what gives you confidence, you know?
Yeah, I mean, having played DMC5 and a little bit of Final Fantasy 14, I could say I'm pretty excited for that. I mean, they have a good pedigree, so
yeah.
I mean,
I
I will say, like, the trailer didn't really move me any particular way, but, you know, whatever, we'll see.
Yeah, I feel weird about this game because it's this conflicting thing of like I have full trust in the pedigree of this team, right? Like I think the FF14 team is the best team at Square. These are objectively the best people who could have handled a brand new Final Fantasy internally in the company, right? And them signing on the DMC5 combat director means that they're clearly they clearly see that FF15's combat wasn't amazing, and it's good to hire on expertise in that matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I completely trust the pedigree, but I do think the trailer wasn't that exciting.
No.
And I don't think I'm alone because I was kind of looking at the social media metrics of this trailer, and I mean they're not great, to be honest, which is weird for like a brand new next gen Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if the trailer did a very good job selling me on it. You know, I just think that it looked kind of like, I mean, first of all, Final Fantasy is known to push graphics every gen. You go into a new generation, you expect a Final Fantasy game to just wow you visually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this definitely didn't accomplish that, right?
No.
Yeah, I initially thought it was like an expansion to Final Fantasy 14 or something.
Yeah.
It looked a lot like that.
Yeah, like the art style itself, but also like the fidelity of the art style, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And and on top of that, like, I don't know, like, I mean, I do think, because there's a laundry list of issues I had with Final Fantasy 15, right?
Yeah.
But one of them definitely is, you know, at least at launch, you were only able to play as Noctis, right? And we only saw one playable character in this trailer, which is a little concerning, because I do think a big part of an RPG is your party, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I have some reservations. Again, I completely trust this team, but I'm not like feeling the hype yet.
Well, I
do
mean,
think. Sorry, go ahead.
well, I mean, it seemed like they were leaning a little bit more towards like the Kingdom Hearts style combat. Like some of the aerial combos look a heck of a lot like Kingdom Hearts. So, I mean, in that respect, like you don't really control your party very much in Kingdom Hearts. So it's not that big a deal.
Yeah,
sure. I don't know. I guess with Final Fantasy in particular, though, I really feel like it's such an important part to me. Anyway, I don't know.
I think it's a thing of you can have one character be playable, but you need to make it where the other people that are fighting feel significant and you're interacting with them, right?
Also, your party needs to have female characters in it. Come on, Square.
Sure.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, that one didn't have a year, didn't have anything, right? So
that game's not coming out till 2023. Mark it down.
Well, I think it might be closer than you think, just because I think they're reusing the same engine, right? Like I think they're confirmed.
No.
No, I believe.
Why do you say no?
Because Square Enix does this every generation and for every game. You are insane.
But the team behind it has always been punctual. They've been punctual. 14
Yeah, because they're making expansions. Expansions
that people say are as big as new games.
Punctual, sure, I get that, but this is never, ever, ever trust Square Enix to deliver any product in a timely manner. Just no. Especially in the era of COVID-19. It's just not happening.
It's fine. It's going to make it.
Okay.
Next year. Holiday.
All right.
Probably going to be out by March, I would say, actually. So that was the thing they opened with. They also, right after, I think, had, what's it called? Hogwarts Legacy. Not Harry Potter, but in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. A real strong week to do it because J.K. Rowling has just been transphobing everywhere, all over the place.
She's still doing this.
She's
that's her whole life now.
She wrote an entire book about it, basically, at this point.
Yeah, and used the pseudonym of a known conversion therapist, gay conversion therapist.
What?
Sorry, this is I guess it's off topic.
That's a whole hot topic. Just want to mention that's the thing, but
no, I just want to mention
banned from the internet.
she has not, because this week in particular, what she's doing, she doubled down, then she tripled down. Now she's doing that thing where when you become canceled for something, then that person just ends up instinctively, because they just keep digging the hole, they're making their whole life just about this one topic. That's what J.K. Rowling is doing.
God. She is... Fuck her.
Warner Brothers made sure to say, hey, she's not working directly on this game. Just want to make that clear.
Of course they want to cover their asses.
They want to cover their asses. This is we knew about this game years ago. It was from the Walmart tests. It's exactly that, right? And it's 1800s Hogwarts game. I like Harry Potter a lot growing up. I still like Harry Potter. Being in a big Hogwarts game where you guys could explore is always the thing I wanted since I was 5 years old, right? But this game kind of looked rough. It was a tale of two games. There would be some parts that I think were pre-rendered where I was like, this looks really smooth, and they cut to what looks much more like a gameplay, and it was running at 15 frames per second. And I said, this does not look as good. So they say it's 2021.
In general, I was kind of I like the way it looked, generally speaking. I would play it, but kind of moral quandary along with that I don't know if I want to play it now, but
Yeah. But anyways, that is what it is. Like you said, questions about if you want to play it are up to you. Besides that, they had Five Nights at Freddy's, everyone. Security breach.
Wow.
One of the only true next-gen games. Look at the ray tracing in that trailer. Whew! So many lights. No, so this is... We don't know what it is. We just know you're going to be in a new Five Nights at Freddy's game. There's laser tag. I love laser tag.
I don't even know what Five Nights at Freddy's is.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
It was a single person made game that played off. You know how people find Chuck E. Cheese and mascots creepy? It's sort of playing off that. Well, people do. And so you're a security guard at a knockoff Chuck E. Cheese, and the animatronics come to alive at night, and you try to avoid getting killed by them, basically, right?
Okay.
That's it.
We've come a long way. We've come a long way since the first game, which was just pre-rendered backgrounds and images.
Yeah, the guy made a Christian Noah's Ark game that started fluffy animals, but everyone's like, dude, the animals you made look scary. And he's like, well, I guess the kids won't want to play my Noah's Ark game. I guess I'll just turn him into a horror game, and now he's worth $20 million. So
yeah, he shot out 5 games in 2 years.
Yeah,
it was just he made a bunch of those games.
Turning them.
Yeah, there was it was a not even 6 months between the second and third game. I don't even think.
Mm-hmm. And then the final announcement. Not a lot to work with, but it's not called God of War Ragnarok. It is officially entitled, according to Sony right now, the upcoming God of War game from Sony Santa Monica Studios coming 2021.
Same.
I hope they keep that title, actually.
That would be pretty fun.
2021 is just a lie, right? That's just a fucking lie. I mean, I wouldn't believe...
the first one came out 2018, right? So
yeah, so I wouldn't believe that God of War sequel could have a 3-year turnaround in the first place. These are these games are not easy to make, especially as you jump in hardware fidelity. Maybe they get around that by being cross-gen.
Yeah, probably.
But if this game was next year, I wouldn't have believed it in the first place. 3-year dev cycle. Second of all, we're in a pandemic that's going to add to development woes for sure. And third, if this game was next year, I think they would have showed something and not just a fucking logo teaser, but not even a logo teaser because we didn't get the game logo, we just got the franchise logo.
Yeah, I mean, this is Sony did a very similar thing with Uncharted 4 with the PS4 build up, right?
Yeah, and you know when Uncharted 4 came out 3 years later after they teased it.
So if it does come out, fair play to him. That's amazing, frankly. But I'm not holding my breath, right?
I mean,
and also,
if they get out both the Horizon sequel and God of War sequel in 2021, I will be shocked, but I will be,
yeah,
It'll be on PS4, so it'll be all right.
He'll be fine. Forbidden West, do you think that that's going to be in the later half of next year?
I don't think it's coming out next year, but.
Well, I feel like Forbidden West has a way more likelihood.
Sure, but it's also an open world game.
And I can't see it in the first half of the year, so it's like, it would be wild if they did God of War 2 and Horizon 2 in the same holiday.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of know what their big first half of the game year is, right? And that's Ratchet and Clank, presumably, because that is the one game confirmed for the nebulous launch window.
Mm-hmm. So there was the new games, right? There was the info they gave us, right? No, there was one more thing, excuse me. They announced the PlayStation Plus collection, which is, they're like, hey, we got backwards compatibility on this Mosucker. Why not use it? And so essentially, it's just a lineup of PS4's best games. If you have if you have a PS5 and PlayStation Plus, you'll get this included with your PS Plus subscription.
Well, you say best games, but The Last Guardian's there, so I don't know what you're talking
about. And
about.
Days Gone, and if you Detroit Become Human, there's some.
I am surprised that Horizon and Spider-Man are not on this collection.
Yeah, that's fucking shocking that Horizon's not there. Blew my fucking mind.
Do you think Horizon's because of the PC port?
Remastered, but Horizon, come on. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the PC port, I don't know if that factors in or not.
So, here's my cynical take on the PlayStation Plus collection. Mm-hmm. Is this replacing the 2 new games per platform initiative? I don't think, because if you remember when the PS4 launched, they immediately gave us 2 PS4 games. Yep. They gave us Contrast, and they gave us Resogun. And every month we got...
Resogun, what a good game.
Yeah, a great game. And we got 2 games every month. I wonder if that's no longer going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, Sony has done this before where they package good news about something underneath, they'll put bad news under, like announcing, hey, no used game. You don't have to worry about your used games. Also, online is paid now.
Well, I mean, because this is almost the original version of PS Plus, right? The original PS Plus was, here's this 20 games that you get.
Collection. Yeah. And so I wonder if it's reverting back to that now. I kind of think I don't think they're going to be giving us 2 PS5 games because they're not going to give us Destruction All Stars. You know what I'm saying? You got to pay for Destruction All Stars.
Come on, I mean, with that kind of quality,
now they're giving away $80 games.
€80.
Well, I was wondering, why didn't they mention PS Now at all? And
I don't know.
Maybe this is some kind of signal that they're merging them together in some way, but I don't know. I feel like that's probably a stretch. But.
I'm very confused about what they see. PS Now and PS Plus are kind of blending together right now with this collection, but it's
yeah.
But obviously, PS Now comes with way more games and the ability to stream.
Way more.
So I don't know. It's weird that it's especially weird because if you ask people at Sony headquarters, they see cloud as a big deal. Right, they've been telling their investors that they're going all in on PlayStation Cloud, but that doesn't seem to be the case with SIE. So I don't know. There seems to be some miscommunication there.
Yeah.
Do you think they discontinue Now and just make it all Plus?
Maybe.
I wouldn't be shocked if it quietly goes away, or if Now gets repackaged into something completely different. Because I think the Now branding is is tainted a little bit, right?
Yeah. I think it's lost its luster. It no longer has a place anymore.
Yeah. But that was the event. That was the PS5 showcase and all the info that came after it.
You completely missed a game in there.
What I forget?
You forgot Resident Evil 8.
Village.
I mean, that was an
sure. Oh, I guess
that was just an update.
Were any of the games that were brought back up? Did they stick out to you? That were returns, because Village was at the June event, right?
It was at the June event, and they showed nothing new here. Let's be honest. This was a nothing trailer.
We got a storybook thing.
I guess DMC5 is getting upgraded for next gen. That's the only other new game.
It is. They're adding Virgil
special edition. So
wow.
Weirdly enough, the enhancements are coming to the PS5 and the Xbox Series X version. but are not coming to PC.
No,
Don't know why.
It's kind of irritating.
But Virgil is. I don't know.
Virgil's not part of the master race.
I mean, Virgil.
No.
So Virgil's also getting. You can buy DLC for your old versions if you're not getting next gen.
And if you, also, I think it's funny because if you were wondering why DMC5 mysteriously disappeared off Game Pass last month, now you know why.
Yeah.
Pretty sneaky.
Okay, but yeah, I think that's it. I mean, PS5. I'm feeling very weird about, to be honest. I'm just like, great price, great launch lineup, but there's so much around it that I'm just like,
You're gonna buy it and you're gonna like it.
I'm gonna buy one.
I'm gonna buy one eventually.
There's no doubt in my mind.
I'm not day one, but eventually.
Yeah, I don't know about day one. I don't even know if I could get my hands on one at day one at this point.
Yeah,
but-
pre-orders have been a mess. They've been very
Are
hard.
you guys in for digital or physical
Sony,
version?
I mean,
physical.
it depends on if the digital edition becomes more common, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
easily...
gonna guess if you have not secured a pre-order for a digital edition right now, you will not be getting a digital edition day one.
No.
Just
I'm talking about the next year.
yeah.
You know, like, which hopefully they will become available by then. But if there is that ratio maintains, right, which I imagine it'll shift more digital as time goes on. But at some point, they're probably hoping that we'll just get fed up and buy the more expensive one that they're making more money on.
I mean, I pre-ordered the physical one, and they already sent me an email saying I might not get it on time. So that's a good sign, I guess.
Also, something about Sony's attitude, I don't know, just the company's attitude just kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes. Because, like, I see Nintendo and Xbox out here being very friendly with each other, and even, like, Xbox is very friendly with PlayStation and PC and all this, you know? Like, posts like, hey, happy National Video Game Day. Any way you play is, like, a great way. Like, they show up PlayStation. In their tweet, you know, stuff like that. It's just nice from a consumer standpoint. But then you see like Jim Ryan being like, low price, reduced spec consoles like the Xbox Series S don't prove great results in the past. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't really care that much about that. Also, I do want to correct the record. Nintendo's not friendly with anyone. They just don't think anyone else exists. Their world revolves around themselves.
Yeah, but they're also not like taking shots.
Yeah, but that's because they don't even know what a PlayStation is.
Fine.
No,
fine,
I think more so it's I don't know. I think they're in a situation now where they had bad news to deliver, and I think that with price increases with stuff like that, right? And
they
like
couched it in with the
mm-hmm. But I don't think they couched it well.
No. I mean,
right?
I mean, because like the talk of the show really was like obviously the console price, but it was also like game prices going up. It was about them completely lying about believing in generations, right? I think that part of their attitude,
and that's in our niche circle, right? Not in the wider space. We should make that clear.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. They just come
but
across as
I do think it does come across that way when they talk about when they take so many shots at like how Elastin is holding back, and then they completely flip flop on that. That is like, come on. So
yeah.
I don't know. Like they know they're on top. Right?
They'll probably still be on top.
It's like they fuel console wars. They fuel the people who just won't give it up, and they still talk about console wars.
Well, I mean, console wars make them money.
Yeah, they do. Console wars, I mean, are the reason they won this gen. You know, like it was a
also
huge
makes
benefit.
Me want to just stay off the internet because I hate reading. You know what I mean?
You know what? Yeah, no more reading. We hate reading.
Yeah,
you're like,
I don't know how
reading,
so that's helped me out a lot.
This game looks cool. Oh, yo, fuck this game on Xbox. Fuck that shit. It's like, okay, what? I just came to see like somebody else say the same thing, but I guess I'll walk away now. It's just
break the wrist and walk away.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just here for a good time. And honestly, I feel attacked right now. That's how I feel.
Everyone on the internet is wrong.
Especially me.
Including
especially Jim Ryan.
But that is the Sony event. Like I said, it was a weird one, but I think PS5 is going to ultimately end up being a great
It's
system.
going to be the best selling console next generation. Just say it now. It's going to happen.
But I think it'll also be like a good system too, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, again, I'm going to buy one.
I have
The moment I saw Final Fantasy 16, I was like, oh fuck, Xbox is done.
Sony can like besmirch my entire family, and I'll still buy PS5.
Same.
Speaking of Nintendo not knowing what's going on, the day after the Sony event, they had another partner showcase.
Yeah.
Right.
They stole their thunder.
Third one. I think they finally figured it out.
They had a good partner showcase. I'm so proud of them.
It's a miracle.
They did it. Best one yet.
So it's funny because I think they knew, because this is the first one that they did that you could live watch instead of just uploading one day. And I mean, the reason that they had the whole thing was Monster Hunter is back.
Monster Hunter is back.
It's on Switch. Monster Hunter Rise was announced. This is just a new thing, right? It's the next step in their own verbiage in Monster Hunter, right? The new features they really focus on in the trailer is you have is it Palico? What's
I'll look it up. Palico's the cat.
Palico's the cat. There's another pun. Anyways, a dog. You can ride on a dog now. It looks like Repeat from Tales of Vesperia.
Mm-hmm.
And with that dog, you can climb up surfaces, right? As you can also as the hunter, right? And that's the new thing, is that also there's a lot more verticality, a lot more traversal options, right? You can climb surfaces, not unlike a certain Nintendo Switch exclusive. And
Wild style.
It's on the Wii U. It's not exclusive.
true. And essentially they're like the grappling hook in World, but now essentially you can use it as a double jump. So you can pull yourself forward,
The wire bug.
upwards. The wire.
I mean, I think this is much. It is very. It is even beyond what was in World, right? Because you can grapple to anything and anywhere, and
yes,
and you can use it with your combos. It's very versatile, right?
Yeah.
And it really changes the way you go about things. I think, which is really cool. It's called a Palamute, by the way, the dog.
Palamute. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, so I think this game took me by surprise for a couple reasons. I mean, I have been expecting Monster Hunter Switch for a while, right? So I'm not. As soon as we knew that the Generations team was not making Iceborne, and that the Generations team was toiling away on something else, it was like, okay, they're working on the Switch Monster Hunter, right? Mm-hmm. But this game took me by surprise because I think a lot of people, when they heard that Monster Hunter would be coming to Switch, from rumors anyway, they expected it to return to old school Mon Hunt. I feel like that was a common sentiment, right?
Yes.
Was that it would, the World style is the new style, but they would make a game for the old original hardcores or whatever, right?
Yeah, because the thought is the World advancements were tied to more powerful hardware, right?
Yeah, and so people thought things like the seamless map or the monsters fighting each other, they thought that was made possible because of the power of the PS4, right? But all those things are in the Switch game, right? Like,
And the Xbox One, by the way, that game is also on Xbox.
Sure, but you know what I mean. Alright. Anyway. This is very much an advancement on World, which is surprising. Like, genuinely surprising. Like, I mean, I think it looks good, very pretty, obviously not as pretty as World, but gameplay-wise, it's taking the core of what World did and advancing it further with the wire bug and the Palamute and being able to climb any surface, right? To make for, an even cooler Monster Hunter game. I think this game looks great gameplay wise, and I think even visually, like, especially on the Switch, right? This thing, Capcom is very good at making the most out of the hardware, I think.
Yeah.
And this game looks very good, you know?
The art style is very inspired by, like, ancient Japan, which I think is smart, right? Because, like, you are on, like, a tropical island in World, right? So there's a lot of foliage, a lot of brush everywhere. Whereas this, you can have a lot of, like, mossy rocks and it feels appropriate, right?
Yeah.
And those are less taxing on the system. A few things of note also, they made sure to, like, show off. A common complaint among hardcore Monster Hunter fans was World had too many of the dragon family, basically, right? Most of the big monsters were all that, when historically there's been spiders, there's been quadrupeds like bears, there's been a bunch of different things, right? And they specifically show off stuff like that in this trailer, right? By showing, I think it was 3 new monsters they showed off. My favorite one was the, like, platypus looking bear guy who eats people. I think it just looks really good. You know, it's coming in March, so relatively soon, 6 months away. Any other thoughts on Rise?
I mean,
Looks great. I kind of want to play. I haven't played a Monster Hunter game before, and this and the next one we're going to talk about.
Don't do it. Don't, if you're gonna do it with like just Noah. If you try it with everybody else around here, they're just gonna make you buy the game and then fucking bail on your ass.
Who are the people in this podcast right now that beat Monster Hunter World?
no.
I tried to play Monster Hunter World. Oh, Brandon, you should try Monster Hunter. You get into it. This is like the time to do it. They made it easier than ever. Fucking buy the game. Literally, like after like a week, everybody's like.
I mean, okay. So
what did you do?
You know, I got into World. I played like 10 hours of the World, but then dropped it because I don't like playing on my TV. But I really liked the game, and so having this game on the Switch is going to be nice. Very, very great.
I don't trust.
Don't.
Oh, this is the new mode. You gotta remember.
I wasted $60. I wasted $60.
Okay. Well, I don't care, Brandon.
That was the old mode.
Anyway.
I played it by myself, and it was.
No, but I do want to talk about. I do think it's interesting that they are doing a Switch exclusive, right? Because third-party exclusives are not common anymore, you know. And like we've seen, like on the Switch in particular, we've seen a couple like Octopath Traveler or No More Heroes 3 or Bravely Default 2, right? But they're all very small scale. I think this is objectively the biggest scale of a third-party exclusive we've seen in a while, and definitely on Switch. And people, I think a lot of people may be wondering, like, after Monster Hunter World blew up so big, it's the best-selling Capcom game ever, right? Why is this game only on Switch, right? But I think it's smart for Capcom to have two separate lines of Monster Hunter, right? One that is pushing the graphics, that's going all in on next-gen features that you can do on the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC versions, right? But then you have the more pared down version, but still gameplay wise is still as good as any, right? Still moving the franchise forward, but doesn't focus necessarily so much on the visuals as much, and making that Switch exclusive. I think that's smart to have these two lines of Monster Hunter, especially because
you say two lines, but there are actually three lines now.
Are there three? What's the well, that okay, but But, you know, so I think it's smart for that reason. And I also think that it's good to, like, diversify a little bit, like, make it so that you're not getting fatigued. Because Monster Hunter previously had been essentially an annual franchise, right? And I think that helps with not making people feel fatigued by the franchise by branching out a little bit. So, I think it's cool. I think it's very nice that they're... And I think this game is going to sell a lot.
Hasn't there been a Monster Hunter on the Switch already? Or
there was a port of the 3DS
it was just an upgraded port of the 3DS version, so it was, you know, meh.
Not the one that you're looking for. Though some people love it, I guess I should say. The other Monster Hunter game they had two. Speaking of 3DS Monster Hunter games, Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin is coming out 2021. If you don't know what this is a more kid-oriented spin-off RPG style game. Traditional RPG style game, set in the Monster Hunter world, wherein you are like a tamer, and so your party is made up of the monsters from Monster Hunter, right? You tame the monster, you bring them into battle, and you fight with them. Which this had a 3DS game that came out in like September 2017 in North America, so not a lot of people played it because it was so late in the 3DS lifespan. But they had a full demo for it. Full trailer for it, and it like looks very pretty. The art style has had a very nice glow up, I would say, from the 3DS.
Sure, yeah, for sure. This game is gorgeous. And you know, Story is the game I was genuinely very interested in on 3DS, but it came out so late on 3DS that I was just like, nah, I'm not spending $40 on a 3DS game in 2017. Yeah, not happening. But now that this game is on Switch and it's so pretty, and the concept is still alluring, right? Like, I mean, Monster Hunter is well known for its monsters, right? These are iconic monsters, like truly. Mm-hmm. Being able to have a party with these monsters is such a cool idea. And so I'm definitely in for the Switch game. Also, they're saying it's going to have cross compatibility with Rise, so even more reason to pick it up. Yeah, I know. I'm definitely in for Stories 2. The only thing I'm weirded out by is that they're calling it 2, because almost no one played that first game.
Yeah.
So it's like...
And I looked at it, the player character does not look to be the same player character from the first one. So, I don't know why they felt the need to put a 2, but like you said, who knows?
I'm gonna buy it.
Japan's weird.
Coming out in summer.
Bravely Default 2. None of the characters are carrying over.
I might have to buy it.
I mean, I'm a sucker for games where you collect monsters and use them in RPG battles.
I'm a sucker for these little figures called amiibos, and it's gotta have amiibos.
Well, those are for Monster Hunter Rise.
I thought they were Monster Hunter store. Oh, okay.
No, they're
See, well, that fucked me up because they had amiibos for
Stories 1.
Monster Hunter before, Stories 1, and they were only in Japan, so I never bought them. But yeah, okay.
Wow.
Well, fuck. I don't want to buy Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
I guess.
Incomplete amiibo collection.
No, I'm gonna buy. No, okay. Only North America. I'm not buying the Japanese ones.
My God. Box Boy.
Fucking start with me.
So there's that. We also, there was one other announcement I would say from it, which was Disgaea 6 exists and is real.
Yeah.
They're in 3D now, which I've seen some Disgaea fans have issue with, but I think they translated it as well as you could expect.
I like the new
right?
art style, personally.
Yeah. I don't even think it's particularly new, right? I think it's just a different translation of the
Well,
same
no,
art,
yeah,
right?
but like I think pixel art versus 3D models inherently makes it different, though.
Sure,
But
you have to translate it, and it's it's a different language. But yeah, I think that part of Disgaea that's fun is just the series was going to die. The series was dead by
like
all
actually
accounts.
going to die.
Yeah, they said Disgaea Mobile is the last game
and
unless
was
Disgaea Mobile
probably
takes off
going to
insane.
kill the entire company.
Yeah.
Dang.
But then somehow Disgaea 5, they're just like, here, we'll put it on Switch at launch. Who knows if the system will be successful? And it's done. How much has it done?
Over
This is the past
200,000 copies just in the West.
Which is a huge jump.
For a
for
game
Disgaea.
like this guy, that is big numbers. And so the Switch revitalized this franchise straight up, you know? Like, this franchise would not be here today if it wasn't for the Switch. So good call putting that version on Switch.
And then after that, there was also, I guess, there was Rune Factory 5, which is a very similar story, actually, right? Here's the comeback narratives for both these games, which that game looks good. Then they had 3 shadow drops. Not the Red Lantern. What is it? Was it the Red Lantern?
I don't remember the first one.
Anyways,
I don't remember the name of it.
Is the game where you is the mushing game where you have your dogs.
Oh, that game! I feel like that game's been like talked like in like random showcases for like years now. Even though it's probably only been like a year, but
well, it's out now.
Oh baby!
So happened, and then the other 2 were Hades, which was at the last showcase. Is just here, right? It's coming.
Yeah.
And then also Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
This was a brand new. Like, we didn't know that this game would be coming to Switch.
Yeah, and it was out to 60.
I mean, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, I just want to rub it in, by the way. People told me it was impossible to get this game running on Switch. Like, no way can the Switch handle Will of the Wisps. It's on the Switch, and it's 60 FPS. Screw you guys.
Impossible. All right.
Moon Studios said they worked their ass off, by the way, to make that happen.
Kings of optimization.
Yeah, I believe it. Hire them, Nintendo. I don't know. That was the partner showcase.
It was very good.
I couldn't remember the verbiage at
It was
first.
genuinely very good. Like that was like. I mean, obviously, didn't have any first party announcements, but it was a quality direct. I enjoed it.
Mm-hmm. They did say you get more of these this year. Get ready.
I mean, don't expect the other ones to be as good as this one.
No. But it's nice when they are good. You know what? It's always good though.
But
The list.
The list.
Follow along in the pastebin below as every week we add a game to an ever-growing list of over 213 video games. Boy, oh boy. I don't know if I didn't mention the pastebin, I'm going to mention it again. Because that's where you can follow along. Because last week, you can see that I added a video game. Wario Land 4 got to 49 on the list. Congrats to Wario. This week, Ills, you are bringing a game.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
What a sad time. So I don't know how long we want this podcast to go.
No.
But,
No.
we're gonna have a discussion, I guess.
Jesus.
Because I want to rank Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess.
Christ.
Oh God.
All right.
Welcome to hell.
Okay.
All right, so I'm sure we all know this game, but for anybody who doesn't, this is a Legend of Zelda title that was released on the GameCube and the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically Ocarina of Time 2 is what it is.
They set out to make Ocarina of Time 2, and they made Ocarina of Time.
They made Ocarina of Time 2.
All these people were very, very mad about the Wind Waker art style forever, and they wanted the Space World game, and they got it.
Uh-huh.
And here it is.
Here it is.
I mean, I don't know how to describe this game, really. It's a Legend of Zelda game. It's more mature.
Darker tones.
I mean, it's definitely in the vein of Ocarina of Time, right? And all the games in between have gameplay-wise are very similar, right? But specifically, like, you know, it has Hyrule Field just like Ocarina of Time, right? It doesn't go for the Great Sea or anything like that, right? It's bigger than ever, though. It should be noted. You know, it is definitely... It is like... It was known, especially pre-release, as like the darker Zelda, right? Like, this is Zelda for adults, not that kiddie shit, right?
Yeah. Zelda is dead, you know?
I mean, but like... As for the game itself, I think what should be said about this, it's very much Ocarina of Time. Yes, it has the, like, Wolf Link, but it doesn't really do anything new for Zelda. If you know what a 3D Zelda game is, like, that's what Twilight Princess is, right? You're gonna go through dungeons, so you're gonna find an item in a dungeon, you're gonna use that item to complete said dungeon, and then find your way to the next dungeon, and it's rinse and repeat, right?
Wow, you described every Zelda game.
I mean, not Breath of the Wild.
Not Breath of the Wild.
But
everything but Breath of the Wild.
But yeah, so if you know what a Zelda game is, you know what Twilight Princess is, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the comparison point I always say is this is the first Zelda game that came out after, like, Lord of the Rings took over the world, right? And I think that, you know, like, Link looks a little bit more grown up. He looks a little more like a, you know, whatever, right?
A little bit more high fantasy.
I think the first thing I think of when I think of Twilight Princess is Midna. She's the best part of the game.
For sure.
She's, I think, the best companion in Zelda, probably.
I don't know about the best part of the game, but yes, she's very, very good.
There are some parts that the parts that stick out in my brain, I guess I should say, right? And I think that some of those moments are among the strongest moments in Zelda, genuinely, from a story perspective, right? Mostly, I'm referring to the part where, spoilers, you know, you're at the low point of the narrative, you thought you were gonna beat Zant, but he gets you, and you're running in wolf form towards Hyrule Castle to get to Zelda as Midna's dying on your back, right? And Midna's Lament is playing, and it's a beautiful song. The only thing that ruins it is anytime a bokoblin shows up, the music gets ruined because it starts playing the battle music. But besides that, like, mwah, great, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So, I guess we can just get into it, right? I think we should probably not waste too much time and just say, where do you want to put it first, and then we can have a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is the problem, because I want to have the conversation.
Okay.
I want to. I'm willing to be convinced, because you guys really are telling me that Ocarina of Time is better than this game, but I want to know why. Because Twilight Princess, to me, it has the best dungeons in probably maybe all of Zelda.
It has very strong dungeons. 100%.
It has.
I'm nodding my head. I haven't said a lot, but I'm nodding my head in agreement to that.
It has. I mean, it has a very good, a better companion character. I mean, Ocarina of Time barely has one.
Sure.
And it has better combat. And
Nodding.
And it has better graphics.
Nodding.
But see, okay.
It has a better story, too.
Those are the... yeah.
Well, I have reasons.
I guess we don't do Ocarina of Time 3D.
I genuinely have reasons why I feel Ocarina of Time is better than Twilight Princess, but I do want to touch on one thing you did mention, which was graphics. Twilight Princess's art style didn't age well. I don't think it looks good. I would argue Ocarina of Time 3D is more pleasant to look at than Twilight Princess, despite being on higher caliber hardware. Like, if we're talking about graphics in particular, because like sure, technically it's more advanced.
I'm willing to concede that, because I haven't played it in a long time, and I haven't played Ocarina of Time 3D. I only remember the 64 one, and it was real bad.
Yeah.
So
but
maybe
but
there's like a tie there.
because we do consider the best version of each game, right?
Mhm.
And 3D genuinely, I think 3D has a really pleasant look to it, despite being on such low fidelity hardware, right?
Versus Twilight Princess HD.
Yeah, versus Twilight Princess HD,
which is
it's just an up-res, and quite frankly,
Okay.
I think we can say it did age poorly. The visuals, right? I don't think that's like up for contention.
I still think it's mostly pretty good. I mean,
I think there are
let's
parts
not-
where the art style is really good,
Yeah,
right? But I think the geometry,
Yeah, because I love the character designs in this game.
I mean, I think the problem is Twilight Princess. The graphics of Twilight Princess, I think, get crapped on too because Wind Waker came before it, right? And they sort of have swapped roles over time, right? Where Wind Waker, because the cartoon art style has aged better visually, right? So I think people sort of dunk on Twilight Princess more because of it. I think that Twilight Princess isn't an ugly game, but I don't think it's like a particularly like,
Well, there are parts
fine.
in the game that look really good. Like when you go into the Dark World, like I thought that whole sequence was really, really nice because I love the way that the Master Sword glows. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, I think overall, I just absolutely love the art direction of this game with the character designs, the dungeon designs and layouts.
I think some of them are good, some of them are rough.
The weapons, just everything like really fits this world. I really
does that freaky baby fit the world?
I love the freaky baby.
Freaky baby, does it fit though? Instead of tearing down Twilight Princess, I want to build up Ocarina.
Okay, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah, well, let me just say what I think Twilight Princess does weak.
Yeah.
I think the ending is not as good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the beginning is not as good. And I think when the game directs you to go get the Master Sword, I feel like some of the magic is lost there. Like, they didn't really treat it with the same amount of reverence that it normally is. So it kind of just feels like a quest.
Yes.
So I feel like the game, like, I don't know, like, undercut the legacy of Zelda a little bit there.
Yeah.
Weird.
And I think that's just kind of throughout the game. It just, like, there's some really high points in Twilight Princess. Don't get me wrong, right? This is still an incredible game. But I think that the pacing of this game is its biggest weak point, right?
Yeah.
It's just so uneven, and it leads to a lot of parts of the game that I'm just sitting there just like, meh, I really want to move on to the next thing, you know? And so that really, in a lot of ways, that killed a lot of my love for this game. Was just like, it's so uneven, you know?
My thing is always, I think the second half of Twilight Princess is among my favorite of 3D Zelda, right? In terms of the dungeons, right? I think once you get past the twist, the shadows part, right? Where you collect the first three and then you have to do the rest you have to form the mirror, right? I think the mirror dungeons are really good. But I think up to that point, because the way the game is structured, I don't particularly like the going section by section to clear out the Twilight, right? I get the idea behind it, but for me, I think that there's a very strong moment in my brain of Ocarina of Time of just when you leave Kokiri Forest for the first time and you hit Hyrule Field, right? And even though objectively Hyrule Field doesn't have a ton to do in either game, right? I think that feeling of journeying to Hyrule Castle Town, I was like, oh, they got Zelda. Like this is the part of exploration of Zelda that I think is captured in this moment, right? But I think the thing to me that's so strong about Ocarina of Time versus Twilight Princess is in their, I guess gimmicks is the word, I don't know, their hooks, right? Which is the time travel and the wolf thing. Because not only do I think that Ocarina of Time, the whole aging up and then the world being destroyed is a neat mechanic, it's one of the only games where as I mentioned before, Zelda has the 3 dungeons and the 7 dungeons format, right? That's been around since Link to the Past, right?
Link to the Past.
But because of the time travel mechanic, everything in the kid timeline matters because it's all set up, right? I think that's the thing that it's hard to think about Ocarina of Time because it's so well known and understood, right? But the first time when I played Ocarina of Time and I didn't know anything besides Zelda's Sheik because of Melee, when Saria getting set up and Ruto getting set up and the Gorons being set up and then going back and seeing all these places and it having them be established and understanding that what they were, what they are now makes each part of the map that you visit suddenly be this is significant. There's a beginning, middle, end to this that I think is interesting, right? Whereas with Twilight Princess, I feel like it doesn't. they're these disparate things, but they don't tie into the larger setup, right? Like I think like Colin with the King Boblin is cool, right? But it's so removed from the rest of the game that I sort of forget about it by the end, right? Like the part with the Zora and his dead mom, I think is cool, but it's so removed that I forget about it by the end, right? I think Ocarina of Time structurally puts all its pieces in the right place for it to ultimately have the bigger payoff in the second half of the game and ultimately the finale, right? Because you learn about all these different sages, and like I think that the sages are also really strong, right? Because in Link to the Past they were nothing, right? But in this game, they're characters that you know and like related to before they were sages most of the time.
I'm sorry, I related to the uncle very much.
I apologize to our dear uncle. But then in Twilight Princess, you know, they're it's literal pieces of an object, which I think is just not as interesting.
Well, all right. So let's say I believe what you said, and the pacing is better, right?
Yeah.
The character interactions are better in Twilight Princess, no? Like the thrust of the story, like the emotional core of the story.
I feel like yes and no though, because I think there's some moments in Twilight Princess that kind of betray that, right? I mean, it's been discussed so often, but I do think the ass pull with Zant is just bad writing.
Well, I mean, I think that's the weirdest thing about both Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, but I think especially with Twilight Princess, is the story feels like it was written and then they remembered, oh, this is a Zelda game halfway through, right? Because Ganon and Zelda are the least important parts of the narrative, right? Ilya, good character. No disagreement. Colin, great character. What's her name? Telma's Bar and that whole crew? Fun group, right? No disagreement on any of that stuff, right? But like, ultimately it comes down to these three people, and those three people I am the least invested in that I've been in Zelda Link Ganon of any of the mainline.
Which, like, I don't think it's a problem to have a game where Zelda and Ganon are not a big focus, right? But then when they end up being the most important part of the narrative anyway, but they're clearly the weakest part of said narrative, that's like, I'm not, so why even include them in the first place? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree with the Zelda and Ganon stuff. They seem to linger around in the background for way too long. They're never, like, off focus. I remember Zelda she's just always, like, trapped, right? Like, is she in the castle?
She's in the castle. And
Zelda feels the most damsel in distress she ever has, I feel, in this one.
Well, I don't even think she's, like, I feel like she's a non-factor in a lot of it, is my thing. But
she gave up and then she just gave. Well, it's because Mina takes a lot of the role that a Zelda would traditionally have.
But
right?
like again, I say like that's okay for Zelda not to have a big role if they keep it that way though, right? But they don't.
It's funny that you say that you think the ending of Ocarina of Time is better. I think Midna saying goodbye is really good, but
yeah, I agree.
What do you have to say, Brandon?
I mean, I feel like you know how I feel already.
But what about for our
people listening here? I just think overall, Twilight Princess takes everything that Ocarina of Time did amazing, and just doesn't make really anything worse. Like I understand the pacing thing, and I actually kind of agree with it in some. I do think the beginning is kind of slow. But I don't think that like makes the game objectively worse than Ocarina of Time. And overall, I think it's a better game. I think Wind Waker and this are better games than Ocarina of Time. I think both of them are, honestly. And yeah, Ocarina of Time is great. Legacy, I get it. It's a huge thing. Ocarina of Time propelled 3D adventure games forward. The only game after Ocarina of Time that is worse, I think, are Skyward Sword and Majora's Mask.
Now, hold on.
Sorry, Majora's Mask dance, but
so yeah. So this is the thing I'm trying to square is like how much do I put like pacing and like the focus on Zelda and Ganon maybe not being enough versus like gameplay and
Yeah.
and,
But I
and
would
dungeon
argue
design.
gameplay is mostly even, and when I say pacing, it's not just story wise. I think the gameplay falls in Twilight Princess often, right? Like anytime you have to tier collect, that is not a fun thing to do, right? The whole intro segment to Twilight Princess that is gameplay, right? That's not just like part of the story or whatever that's not picking up. It's like it's dull gameplay wise. I think for both, you can say this for both of them. Exploring Hyrule is not much, but the fact that it's even bigger in Twilight Princess with even less to do makes like exploring Hyrule Field a worse experience in Twilight Princess. You know, I think.
I had a lot more fun in Hyrule Field. For me, at least, I had a lot more fun in Hyrule Field in Twilight Princess. The horse combat is like simple, but I just had a lot of fun doing that. At the time, I thought it was really, really cool. Maybe, I don't know about now, but like when I first played it, I was like, wow, this is fucking cool. Just slashing your sword on top of Epona, running around. Like you couldn't do that in Ocarina of Time, really.
I guess for me, the biggest thing is I'm trying to think about it, right? I think for me, I'm a person like I think about moments a lot in video games, right? Just like what do I think about after I beat it, right? And I think that Ocarina of Time has stronger moments overall for me, right? Which is when I think of like when you go and you save Epona for the first time, right? And you jump the fence. And you suddenly, when you get Epona, it's like, oh man, look at this, right? The world suddenly feels so much more available to me. But even weird things like the first time you like go under the well, right? Like what a weird nightmare that is. And I think that's like really cool and interesting, right? The first time you go to like Zora's Domain and everything frozen. And in that same like attitude, the first time you go to Castle Town and there's a bunch of zombies everywhere, right? I think that for me, even though I think from like a dungeon design perspective, right? Twilight Princess is better, especially just regarding things like the Water Temple, which are not good. 100%, I agree with that. For me, like Ocarina of Time has a lot more moments that I'm like, oh, this was like a big significant thing for me, and I don't want to talk. That was after having played other Zelda games, right? So it wasn't just a thing of, oh, this is in 3D for the first time, right? And obviously, I don't want to talk about Legacy with you, Ills, because you don't regard it, which is whatever. But like, I think that like,
which is whatever.
Which is, I mean, we all rank differently on the list. That's part of it. But I think that like Z targeting is genius. It's straight up. It's a genius way to make a 3D Zelda game work. Like I think it is such a part. It's a part 2 to Mario 64 innovating so much of how you make a 3D space work. Zelda helped a 3D action game work. Ocarina of Time did, at least. And I think that like even though like you said maybe there's more moves to do in Twilight Princess, I still think Ocarina of Time's combat is engaging, partially because I found more use for my items in Ocarina of Time, right? Like famously the spinner is frequently critiqued by fans, right? Because the spinner has the application in the dungeon and nowhere else, right?
But if it doesn't get used outside of the dungeon, like it's like barely.
It does actually.
Barely.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's a lock and key, right? It's just like
that boss fight was so fucking dope with the spinner. I don't even care if it doesn't get used ever again.
So those are the things that I would say. But
well, all right. Shit. So where do you guys want it?
I mean, I know below Ocarina, but then how below is the question, right? It's like not much below, but I mean, I haven't played Dragon Quest, but I'm looking at beneath Undertale personally.
I mean, I like Dragon Quest more, but I'm making a face. I'm making a face you can't see. Well, I would get it if it ends up above.
I want to put it above Link's Awakening.
Above Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening is too high.
No, it's not. God, I hate you all.
And Link's Awakening is my favorite Zelda game, but I don't think it's the best Zelda game.
Pray for Saf.
I mean, I do feel strongly. I don't feel strongly about the games in between Ocarina Undertale, but I do strongly feel like it should go below Ocarina, and I feel like strongly it should go below Undertale. Like, I'm
That I've never
firm
been more
in both of
disgusted
those
about it.
beliefs.
God. Well. Shit.
I also wonder what's up.
we started this podcast with 5 people. Saf had to mysteriously disappear, and now Ilse has caught himself in a
4 for this game.
a mire of his own making in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, fuck. Yeah, I guess right below Ocarina of Time is fine with me.
Okay.
All right.
So you're not feeling the Undertale?
I don't know, man. It's hard. This is a hard thing.
Okay.
Because, I mean, like, I get the pacing and everything you said. Like, that makes sense. But it still doesn't, like, really detract from, like, I still think the dungeon design is so fucking good that, and that's such a pivotal part of the game, like, that, like, it absolutely outshines Ocarina of Time. Like, you play a Zelda game for the dungeons, right? That, at least I always did. And, yeah.
Sure.
That's what I have to say about that.
No,
I mean,
like,
I just remember, like, the first time getting the double claw shot, I was just, like, so fucking blown away.
oh, I mean, that's a sick dungeon, no question.
That's
Right?
so
Yeah.
cool.
It's a fucking amazing.
Yeah.
The first time I went to the Yeti's house, I was like,
You got to make that.
and then once I found the map, I didn't even know it was a dungeon until I found the map. I was like, holy fuck, I'm in a dungeon right now?
Yeah, that's
that
fun.
like blew my mind.
But I think that's also the neatness of the capacity of Zelda, right? Is I would say that the dungeons are not like, I like them a lot, but they're not my number one priority, right? Like, I like exploring and doing a bunch of other things, but I think that like Zelda at its best has the capacity for both, right? So anyways, there it is. At number 15 on the list, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Surrounding it, number 13, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Get used to hearing that. 14, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. 15, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. 16, Halo 2. 17, The Last of Us.
Are we gonna stick some more Zelda in that little corner? And we just...
Yeah, just say.
Yeah, put Breath of the Wild in there.
Oh, God. Yeah, so that is the list. That is the podcast. It was a long one this week, but thank you for listening all the way through. Who wants to do the plugs and who wants to do the final phrase?
I'll do either or. Whatever's not taken.
Muzzy, I know you want to do the final phrase here, so I'll do the plugs. So thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it, especially this is a longer podcast. So if you enjoyed the Jump Up Supercast, please check us out on your favorite podcast listening service. You know, whether it's SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just check out some other episodes, including the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. That goes up every other Thursday. Normal episodes go up every other Monday, or every Monday, sorry, but every single Monday. God, we do it, man. We do it every Monday. But every other Thursday is the Jump Up Supercast Game Club, which is a little side show we do with me and Els and Noah. We play games, and we talk about whatever game we played. Right now, we're playing Lucky Luke. The reason why I don't sound excited about it is because who the fuck? What is this game? What the fuck?
It's Noah's childhood, is what it is.
God, what the fuck? But anyway, we'll talk about that game. But we recently played Style Savvy Fashion Forward, and that was really, really fun, surprisingly. So if you want to hear our opinions on that, please check that out. Give us a follow, like, share. Feel free to let us know what you thought about where we put the games on the list down in the comments. In whether, are you going to buy a PS5? Did you get one pre-ordered? Let us know. Support us if you want to. We do have a Patreon. You can do as low as $1 a month, and just that $1 will get you access to our Discord. Will get you access to also being able to choose a Game Club game once a round, which Style Savvy was one of those games that was picked by one of our patrons. So, we really appreciate that. That's super awesome if you do that. And you can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Like I said, YouTube. We're all over social media and the internet. Stay up to date. Everything Jump Up Supercast related. And you can even catch us streaming on twitch.tv/Jump Up Supercast. We've been playing a lot of games lately. Trying to become affiliates. So if you want to give us a follow, we would really appreciate that. We've been playing Among Us, Fall Guys, all sorts of stuff. But Muzzy is playing through not every Mario game, but a very large chunk of Mario's history over the next couple months here in celebration of Mario 35. So he'll be playing Super Mario 64 this month, and we'll be playing a lot of games. So just give us a follow, twitch.tv/Jump Up Supercast, and come hang out. And everybody, I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank my buddies here for joining us again on the podcast. And Muzzy, your final phrase.
I think that Game Pass is better than anything the PlayStation 5 has to offer.